everyone, and welcome to Her Side and His Side. I'm Carol Morgan.
And I'm Joe Patchett.
And we're a real-life couple, and we are here to answer a lot of people's advice about all types of relationship problems from beginning to end. And today we're going to focus on some questions that we've had from people for the beginning of relationships, because while beginning of relationships can be really fun, they can also be like kind of not mind-blowing, just like nerve-wracking, you know, if you wondering if you're on the same page with the same person, and is it okay to say this or do this or not, and so it's a lot of uncertainty for a lot of people. And so we have a couple questions, or well, several actually, but it depends on how many we get through, about some questions that these people have really been through and are going through right now, and that you might be going through or been through or know somebody who's going through it. So should we dive right in?
Let's dive right in.
All right, so here we go. Here's the first one. My boyfriend and I have been together for a few months now, but he told me that it's okay for him to not call or text every day. He only gets in touch about every 5 days now, but he used to do it every day in the beginning of the relationship. I do not like it, and I told him that, but he said this is the way he is and that I cannot change him. What should I do? I'm so lost right now. Take it away.
First thing you should tell him is to lose your phone number. Because if he's not interested in you, he once every 5 days communicating with you, I don't think he's interested.
But she calls him her boyfriend, and they've been together for a few months. So they probably define the relationship, or do you think she's just assuming that they're boyfriend, girlfriend?
I don't know, but even beyond that, if you communicate your wishes to someone, that's something that's important to you, and they tell you, that's too bad, that's just the way I am, then maybe you're not a match. So even beyond the fact that every 5 days a text, that's a long time. That wouldn't be enough communication for me.
Me neither.
Or I know for you, not either, for sure.
That's never a good match.
Every 5 days would be something you might see each other, let alone just not even text each other or talk in between, or at least ask how your day is going. I'm speaking from the male perspective, if he's not interested in communicating with you or seeing you for 5 days, he's not interested.
But why would he think, or why would she think they're boyfriend? Like, do you think he said we're boyfriend, girlfriend? I mean, we don't have much more information than this, but let's say he did say that they're
well,
boyfriend,
you women
girlfriend.
Have pretty good imaginations. So
that is true.
Possibly, it could be in her imagination.
So it could be possible that they didn't define the relationship?
Or she could be a placeholder.
Define
What's
placeholder.
he doing the 5 days in between? If he's not texting her, who is he texting her? Who is he talking to?
And see, that's a really hard thing, I think, for most people to accept, because when you're with somebody or think you're with them exclusively, you can't even imagine that they're like talking to other people or possibly even dating other people.
If he texted you every day in the beginning, maybe he was interested, and once he got to know you, then he wasn't so interested, but he doesn't want to totally break it off with you because then he might be alone. So he might be texting other girls, testing the waters outside your relationship, if you even have a relationship.
Isn't that called cushioning? I think that's a new term where like you're dating somebody but you're still like on Tinder, or you know, like, but they don't know you are, and so you're still looking for other people, but you're keeping, like, I guess you call it a placeholder, but I think there's a term that like there are people who just like keep you around while they're looking for somebody better, but you don't even know it. Like, I'm naive. I'm not naive anymore, but I used to be naive. Well, I'm still a little naive because I still can't imagine that people do really
because
bad
you think
things.
That everyone thinks like you.
Yeah, because I try to give everybody respect, you know, and I would never do that to somebody else. And I think that's what a lot of people think, well, I wouldn't do it to somebody, so why would they do it to me?
And you're confident enough that you can be alone. You don't need to have someone to hold a place.
Right.
So maybe this guy needs someone around, even if they're the wrong person, until he finds it's actually the right person.
Do you think it's an ego thing, too, for a lot of guys? Like, ooh, I'm talking to all these girls, and it doesn't matter if I have a girlfriend. I'm getting attention from lots of other people?
I don't know.
No, you're not like that. You better not be that.
No, I don't know. Can't speak from experience there.
I think there are a lot of people like that, though. I mean, girls and guys who just want attention from other people.
Yeah.
But, so, I want to address the whole, this is the way I am. Because I've been through this, too. Like, I dated somebody once who was into Texter and didn't really want to keep in touch much. And, you know, it's never good to be needy. And so, like, I was like, well, I don't want to be the one always texting him or keeping in touch, you know. And I did this for a while, but then I realized, like, I'm changing who I am for him, you know, because he told me right up, like, I don't like texting. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to change people. I don't want to make them into somebody they're not. But yet, at what point am I changing who I am just to fit into this relationship? And that's never good.
I think you have to find somebody who has the same speed as you have in whatever it is.
Absolutely.
Relationships, family, even if someone is really into working out, but you're not really into working out, are you really going to be a good match?
Mm-hmm.
You know, someone who finds, likes to lay on the beach all the time and suntan and do things like that, and you're not the kind of the sun person.
Like me.
That, you know, just even interest or any other kind of thing in a relationship, I think you need to find someone that's your speed. And it's very hard to try to fit into someone else's speed on anything.
Yeah.
And
I think that's what a lot of people do. I mean, I've been there too. Like, you know, I'm an extrovert and I had been with introverts before, and, you know, like I wanted to go out, or I had a lot of friends and they didn't, and they didn't want to go out. And, you know, at first it's kind of cute because, like, oh, opposites attract, you know. And
so do they?
No. I mean, that's what I came to.
So
I mean, they
an
might
extrovert
temporarily.
cannot be with an introvert.
That's not true. But I think the more like you are in all ways, the better. And so I think, you know, like for this person, you know, I also don't like when people change their behavior. Like I'm very, I pay attention to people's patterns of behavior. And whenever I see a change in the pattern, I think there's a problem. You know, I think for this guy, he probably reverted back to who he really is, wouldn't you say? Either that or he just doesn't like her that much.
I just think he's not interested.
So you don't think he's just the guy who doesn't like to keep in touch?
No, I think he's not interested. He's not interested.
So he would keep in touch if he was really that interested, is what you're saying?
Yeah, I don't know anyone who doesn't want to communicate with somebody for 5 days if they're really into them.
True. But there are a lot of people
Aren't
who
you
just
like
don't...
sitting, waiting by your phone, hoping they text you if you're interested in them?
But maybe some people just are really, like, they like their space a lot.
Have you ever met someone like that?
Well, I'm sure there are people out there. I've known some people, but I think those kind of people give a lot of attention in the beginning, and then they back off. Either, and I've had this too with guys, like they just, they come on really strong with all the compliments, and oh, you're the greatest thing, you know, ever walk the face of the earth. And
So you've had a lot of guys like that?
Not that many. Shut up.
No, really.
Well, a few. And, you know, at first it's really complimentary, and you're like, oh, wow, this person really does think I'm great, because I am. But, but then it kind of winds down, and you're like, hey, what happened? And I think it's just a game that a lot of men do in the beginning. Like the chase, you know, like, I'm going to say and do everything and anything I can to get her. And once I have her and we're boyfriend, girlfriend, then I can disappear for 5 days because, I have her now.
Oh, and the woman doesn't do that?
I'm not saying they don't.
You go out to eat, and they eat like a little bird, and they're all in shape. And then once you get into a relationship with them, all of a sudden they're eating big plates of mashed potatoes and gravy. And
I know. I'm not saying women don't do
they wore
that.
makeup, and their hair's all perfect. And then you get to know them a little bit, and they're in sweats, and their hair's in a ponytail, and no makeup. And
I agree. I think the moral of the story here is that people need to be themselves from date one. I mean, that's, I think, what's so great about us is that we are the same people that we met on our first date.
Yeah.
We haven't changed. I mean, I think we've changed for the better, and we've changed together, but you're not like, oh my gosh, where did you come from? I mean, like, you're pretty much the same person, and that's why, you know, you're so important to me. You're consistent. You never didn't show me your interest, and you never backed down or disappeared for not even a day or even a few hours, you know. So I think we'll probably get to one more question after this, but I think for this person, I think Joe's right. I think that he's probably not that interested, or maybe he really was, but then who knows what happened.
But even if he is interested,
Are you a
he's
good
not
match?
interested in the way that she wants to be someone to be interested
Right.
in her, so they're not a match. Even if he truly is a 5-day text person, and that's
doesn't
fine,
work for her.
it doesn't work for her.
Yeah.
She's never going to be happy with that.
Right.
And he's not interested in changing, so they might be the perfect match in every other way.
But that's a really important way that they don't match.
For her it is, because
Yeah.
she says,
Right.
you know, that she's basically not happy. So
Right.
if he's not willing to change, or they're not willing to meet in the middle, there's really no point.
Mm-hmm. So I think the big lesson to be learned here is don't hang on to something that doesn't feel good. You know, I've done that. I mean, I didn't really hang on, but I hung in longer than I should have, and I know you have too. And it never works out. So if it doesn't feel good, if it doesn't feel like a big comfy couch, or like it's like home, and you know, and not that there's not going to be differences, but if you're this anxious and wondering about things especially this early on at 3 months, then it's probably not a good match for you. And I think people are kind of worried about, maybe I won't find nobody else, but you know, there are a lot of fish
But
in
it would
the
be
sea.
different if, instead of him saying that's the way I am, if he said, okay, well, what can
Let's
I do?
work on this,
Let's
right,
work on
like,
this or something.
what do you need?
That's kind of a different story.
Right, that's a huge red flag.
But she's kind of ran into a brick wall.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you say, okay, it's a brick wall, then this isn't working out. But
Mm-hmm.
it would be a lot different if he said, okay, I can
I'm sorry.
meet you
and
halfway. I
right.
didn't know you felt that way. Maybe
Exactly.
we should do something. But
Right. Because I've been in relationships with people who didn't care about my needs either, and that didn't work at all.
no,
And
because you got your needs and you need them fulfilled, right?
Well, everybody does, don't they? I mean, that's what I've learned from relationships is both people need to care about the other person's needs at least equal to, if not before, their own. So if this guy's not caring that this matters to her, then not only is it a huge red flag, it's just going to get worse as time goes on. So, I mean, this can be extrapolated to a lot of people's situations. I mean, I don't care if you're married for 20 years and your husband or wife doesn't care about your needs or anything, then that's kind of a problem. And I'm not saying you should change the other person, because you can't change the other person. You should just really either try to meet in the middle or find someone who's a better match for you, right?
After 20 years of marriage?
Well, I don't know.
That's a little late, but
I'm talking 3 months here.
are
but
you advocating after 20 years of marriage to get divorced over that?
I'm not saying either way. Maybe they should, maybe they shouldn't, but that's only for them to decide. Okay, anything else you want to say about this person? We only have a few minutes left. but
No, I
have a
think we
ton
beat
of
that
them.
to death.
Okay. I don't know if we're going to be able to answer this one in like 4.5 minutes, but we'll try.
Okay,
Ready?
let's do it. To see if you can keep it short.
Have you ever seen me keep anything short?
No.
I'll try. All right, I went on 5 dates with a guy in the last 1.5 months, and I really started to like him. I started asking him one day if he was talking with other girls and if we could be exclusive. He suddenly got really upset and said that this was a red flag for him if I couldn't trust him, and that he was immediately turned off and didn't see a future with me. My question for you is this: is it okay to ask a guy to be exclusive if he is talking with other girls? My other question is, if a guy really cared about a girl, a little question like this can't be an immediate turnoff, or would it?
I think it's just clarification. And there would be nothing wrong with the guy saying, yeah, I'm talking to other people. Because I haven't
After
really...
1.5 months?
1.5 months, 5 dates. I mean, some people could still be dating other people.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that the key is just to be honest. Yeah, gone out with you 5 times, but I've gone out with a couple other girls too.
Mm-hmm.
So I am seeing other people.
But most people aren't honest. See, that's one thing that's so great about us. We're just blatantly honest with each other. But most people, I don't think anyone would say, oh, yeah, we've been out 5 times, but I've been talking to 3 other girls and been out with them too.
And if you've been out 5 times, why are you asking now? And why is that still a question?
What?
After a month and a half, you don't know if he's talking to other people?
Well, how would she know?
Well, don't you think they had any conversation between that? Or couldn't you tell
Apparently
by
not.
signs? Like, how much is he texting you based on your conversation?
So maybe this other person that we just talked about, the last question, could be kind of a similar situation maybe where, you know, that guy could be like dating a bunch of people and she wouldn't even know it, perhaps.
Well, but I don't understand why he got mad.
Yeah, that would be a huge red flag to me. Like, if he was really interested, he'd be happy. Like, oh, yeah, I'm glad you brought it up because we really do need to talk about this. Or, although some people never define the relationship, and that's another topic that we're going to have to get to in another episode because, you know, it's kind of a big deal these days. Like, what are we? You know, are we just hanging out? Are we dating? Are we, you know, friends with benefits? Are we boyfriend, girlfriend? Like, are we going to last forever? Or is it just
After a month and a half and 5 dates, there's nothing wrong with saying,
where's it
can
going?
we just date each other? Or where's this going? I think after 5 dates in a month and a half, that's a legitimate question.
Yeah. And I would say, personally, for this person, if he got that upset, you don't want to be with somebody like that. I mean, at least he should be respectful of, oh, you know, okay, you're right. It's important to you to define the relationship or to be exclusive or whatnot. And, you know, if he got upset over something like that, I would be willing to bet that down the line he's going to have a temper problem.
He'd really hate your questions.
What? Me?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very defensive behavior, you know, to go, oh, you don't trust me? You know, well, you know, it's not like they've been together 10 years. They've been together a month and a half, so.
I don't think at any point in a relationship it's wrong to ask to define it.
No, or to even come back together and not even redefine it, but to talk about the state of the relationship, if nothing else, you know. So, but I think a lot of people have a problem bringing it up and talking about it, and which is sad, and we are almost out of time. That went way too fast. But, you know, I see a lot of these questions from a lot of people about the beginning of the relationship and when to define things, when is it okay to define things, am I being too needy, or, you know, all of these issues that go along with the beginning of the relationships. And, you know, it's not always smooth sailing, but like I said, I think that if you are feeling angst at all about anything, either bring it up and talk to the person about it, and if they don't receive it well, then you have your answer. And if they do, well, then maybe you're just growing your relationship more. But I don't know. Do you have any final thoughts? Because we're about out of time.
No, I'm good.
Oh, come on. Have a wise final thought for everybody.
A wise final thought. I'm good, no.
Okay. We'll change that. No, I'm kidding. All right, well.
You can't change me.
I know. That's why I said it, because it was funny.
Oh,
Wasn't
that
it?
was a joke?
That was a
Okay,
joke.
that was a joke.
All right, well, thank you everybody for watching, and I hope you guys got a little bit of advice from us. You know, if you might not be in the beginning of a relationship, but maybe you know somebody who is, who might be struggling, and you know, it is difficult sometimes, but hopefully our advice gave you some insights into what you should or shouldn't do. And if you have any questions, or if you know anyone who has any questions for us that we can help you with and address on the next show, please let us know. And until then, have a great week, and we'll see you next time.